The SoulJourn with Heshima Moja, an inspiring and thought provoking program filled with music and stories that can help you to recognize, reflect upon, and embrace your own journey. This week on the SoulJourn, Heshima Moja welcomes Philadelphia songwriter, singer, producer Isaiah Lee.
Release your fears and you will find the truth you always seek has always been inside. Your heart is waiting to be your guide if you learn to let it show. Release the past and you will see the path is open, you're already free. The only one who can create your destiny is you. You gotta learn to let it flow. Just release, 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 and let it go. Breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep, and let it flow. Surrender to the truth you speak. Your heart already knows. We've all been taught to see the world as I instead of we, accepting what we're told because they tell us so, but it never worked for you or me. It's time to look inside, look into the mirror of your eyes. Tell me, what do you see? What do you hide that nobody knows? Just release, 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 and let it go. Breathe deep, breathe deep, breathe deep. Let it flow. Surrender to the truth you speak, 'cause your heart already knows. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the SoulJourn here on Studio 2622. My name is Heshima Moja. Thank you so much for being with us again this week. We have an amazing show lined up for you this week. Of course, as usual, with some musical performance, jazz, meditation. This is a new piece I'm working on called Release, for a new project I'm working on called The Healing Suite. It says, release your fears and you will find that the truth you always seek has always been inside. Your heart is waiting to be your guide if you'll just let it show. And so, particularly in the times we're living in the moment we're living in, we need to release the fears that drive us, the fears that cause us to bring harm to our fellow man. The hatred that drives some people to do such heinous things. You have to release, let it flow, surrender to the truth that our heart is speaking because it already knows. So, this week on the SoulJourn, it's such an honor to have an amazing guest, which I'm going to bring on in just a little while, just a few minutes, but I wanted to talk to you first about the idea of controlling our own stories. This week, I'm welcoming to the SoulJourn Philadelphia singer, songwriter, producer, Iser. And he's going to be with us in just a few minutes. We're going to hear some of his music. We're going to talk to Iser. And we're going to get into the topic for this week, which is I'm young, I'm gifted, and I have a story to tell. So I was thinking about the idea of telling our stories. You know, as a musician, as a songwriter, as a composer, I'm a storyteller. I'm a sonic storyteller. And so I was thinking about this quote by Brene Broman, who talks about the idea that if we hide the story, if we avoid the story, it defines us. And so often in our nation in particular, we are afraid to talk about the stories. We're afraid to talk about the things that have happened. And so because we're avoiding the story, instead of embracing the story and allowing ourselves to write a powerful new ending, what we're really doing is allowing the stories that we avoid, some of the ugliness in our society, particularly white supremacy and racism, which we see at the forefront once again on the news broadcasts, and for some people living in their daily lives, the realities of the evils, harshness of racism. We avoid these stories. We avoid talking about them. We avoid confronting them. We avoid dealing with things that are uncomfortable for us so they continue to define us. And we're at a very pivotal moment in our own lives as individuals and as a society, where we have an opportunity to face our stories, to face the truth of the things that continue, not just that have happened, but that continue to happen to so many people in society. And so while this show is about dealing with our individual peace of mind, I want to remind you that the great El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, once said you can't separate peace and freedom, because if a man doesn't have freedom, he doesn't have peace. And so I would ask you, as I'm going to take a moment and play a very reflective piece of music. Excuse me as I move my bass. I'm going to ask you to reflect for a moment as I play a piece called Sonata. I've played it before on the show. This is also part of the healing suite, but Sonata in Spanish means to heal. It's a verb because healing is an action. It requires action. We can meditate all day, we can pray all day, and those things are important. But if we don't take action toward our own healing as individuals and the collective healing of the nation, we're going to talk a little bit about that later. Not in a kumbaya way. And I know that may upset some people, but I don't believe in kumbaya. I believe in action. If we don't take the action to heal ourselves, as well as to address the problems of our society can never move forward. The stories will continue to define us, the ones that we avoid and the ones that we push away. Sanat. what are the things that you need to heal? What are the things that you need to find in yourself the courage to confront? We all have them. So, I'd love to bring now onto the show a young man who I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting through some of the producers of the show here at Studio 2622. And he is a Philadelphia songwriter, vocalist, producer. And he has a lot of amazing things happening. He's young, he's talented, and it was wonderful to have a conversation with him just a few days ago on the phone and talk for about 45 minutes. I probably talked his ear off. But he's just dropped a new single, and he's dropped a new album, and he is also part of the graduating class of 2020. So I'd like to introduce, by way of Studio 2622, by way of Philadelphia, artist Iser. Iser, how you doing?
What's up, guys?
Man?
I'm great. I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm adjusting to some new camera angles here, so I'm kind of looking up at you right now. I'm used to having the camera a little lower. I think I'm gonna have to adjust it later. But so I understand you just dropped a new album. What's the name of your project?
Yep. It's called Bad Surprise Party.
So tell me about where that title came from.
So that title in particular, it came from this general idea that, so the whole song was about being surprised, and it came from this general idea of, because it sounds like a party, so it's like, why not have a party? And it's kind of in a Latin pop type style of a song. So it was like, you know what, let's just call it Bad Surprise Party. So usually when it comes to me making music, I work with people while I'm making music to see if they have any insight for it.
Wonderful. So what I'd like to do is, before we really get into the interview too deep, I'd love to hear the single off the album. What song are we about to hear?
So the song you guys are about to hear is actually the song called Bad Surprise Party, the song the whole album was made after.
Okay, so the title track.
Yes.
All right, let's listen to that. There we go. Nice, man. So just A minor.
Yep. Just 2 chords.
Yeah, man. Nice, man. Well, yeah, man. You know, I gotta add the Puerto Rican flair to it a little bit.
Of course,
you know
of course you do. Of course. Record that
bit
piano
of
parts in
Honduran
there too.
Oh yeah, man. That's A minor, man.
Of course. Dun, 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 dun.
Nice, man. Really nice groove. I really love your voice, man. I love the tone quality, the color of your voice, man. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
So tell me the story of that song, those lyrics, right? For
surprisingly, right? So I built the lyrics. I always start with the general, like the instrumental part of the music first. So I let those ideas come to me, and then I lead to lyrics. So I'm gonna just start with the whole like musical part first. So it was weird, right? I had a dream one night, and I played something on the ukulele, right? And I had no clue what it sounded like. And I woke up in the middle of the night. And I woke up at 4:00 in the morning. I played something on my ukulele, had no clue what it sounded like. It was muted. And then I woke up at 4:00 in the morning, played it, and that came out. And I did not expect that to happen. And I always sleep next to my ukulele because stuff like that happens all the time. I like wake up from a dream and I have something, and I just play it on the ukulele. It always works out. So as far as the song goes, I just started humming to the song and was like, and then as that went on, I just started to think of words. And I'm just like, you know what? I fall in love every time. And I was like, and doing that, I was like, the way the song is like, it's just so simple and it's so like, it's repetitive, but it's not too repetitive. Sure. I was like, I'm gonna just carry that whole like repetitiveness and say that I'm falling in love every time.
Okay.
And as far as that goes, I would say that leading on to the song, I would say that the person who the song is about, which is not really about someone, is like another person who also can't stay away from me. So I'm falling in love with this person that's always around me all the time. But this person.
So you're talking about like two people magnetically being pulled toward each other, and you don't even know who it might really be about, right?
Exactly. But also,
love can be a surprise.
Exactly. That can be a surprise. And then as we get later on to the song, we talk about how the surprise party can be turned into a bad surprise party. How you can end up being hurt in the long run.
That can.
So that's the whole story, because it's either you can say a good surprise party or it can be a bad one.
Well, that's a great record, man. That's a great record. We'll get back to your music in a second, but let's talk about you as a person, because I'm always interested, as an artist, I'm always interested in people's stories, which is why we talk so much about people's stories. Talk to me for just a couple of minutes about becoming Iser. How did you become Iser?
So to become Iser, I guess. So how I became Iser, I guess it came from that place of growing up in a musical background, participating in choirs when I was younger. Particularly, I always used singing as an escape from the things that was going on inside my personal life, like family issues and things like that. I used music as an escape. I will always sing. And then entering high school, not knowing much about music, not knowing how to play an instrument, and then just walking through that building, low-key feeling alone the whole time. Singing was my escape. And then I came across Christine Mello, who is an amazing teacher. And yeah, she wasn't even my music teacher. I was an art student when I first went to Newman. So I was inside studio art, and I just happened to be stumbling across the stage crew, and I was like, oh, what's this? This seems cool. And it was a bunch of different knobs, and I was like, I love this. And I joined them, and then ever since I started to pick up instruments. And then as we get to today, I just be using it as an escape from most of the things. I use it as a way to express myself, and that's how I ended up being Iser. Now, how I got the name Iser, we talked about this before.
Yeah,
it was from Starbucks.
Right, the barista. You told me that when we were talking on the phone.
Yeah, because I had this thing where misspell my name a whole, definitely lost half the words. Doesn't have an E in it or a R or a Z, but They got the I part right. So it's
Yeah,
Starbucks, you know.
I
Always
think
butchering names.
one of the stories you told me in the interview, which really I have to tell you, even after I hung up the phone with you,
Hmm.
when we were talking the other day, the story about your name that had me laughing for probably about 25 or 30 blocks because I was out for my little afternoon walk was when you told me the person that mispronounced and misspelled your name was a priest, right?
Yes, it was a priest. It was a priest.
And I thought it was so funny. And we're of course I know how it is with names, so I'm not alluding to what your birth name might be, right? Because I respect your
Yeah,
identity as an artist, right? But
yeah.
I just thought that it was really interesting, um, you know. And this is a kind of thinking about being young and being talented and having a story to tell.
Mhm.
And you said that you used music or used singing as a way to escape the things
Yeah,
that you were dealing with, the things you were going through
yeah.
and around you, or the things that were going on around you.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you try to get across. What are some of the messages? What are some of the things that you're trying to get across in your music as an emerging artist who's creating all this amazing music on your own? Um, because precisely you have something you need to get out. You feel a drive to get something out. What are some of the messages, some of the things you're trying to get across to your audience?
So for the most part, I also try to tell the stories of other people, or it's like some things I observe inside the people I'm around. So like, and then in the song, I start the album with a song called Iser, which
Okay,
is about how me being Isaiah and me being Iser kind of felt different. Me making music felt different than me outside of making music, because music I was able to write about the things I was going through, to write about the things that my friends was going through, maybe write a song about something that will help my friends going through something. So for the most part, me trying to convey a message is that music can be an escape, or music can be a way to release, less of an escape, more of a way to release what you have built up within you.
that's interesting, right? So talk about that concept. I mean, you bring up an interesting point, right? You say it's less of an escape, more of a release. What's the difference? What do you mean by that? Can you clarify a little bit?
So by escape, music can be an escape as a way to ignore everything that's going on, because escaping is kind of just like running away.
Right, right,
But
right.
and what I say is, what I try to do inside my music is release. And I noticed in my earlier music I was using music as escaping, and as I grew, I started to use my music more as a release.
That's really
So
important. Yeah, that's an important point because you know, so my musical background, as I was sharing with you, jazz, hip hop, Latin music, but I've spent a lot of time in my life and in my career surrounded by musicians and by mentors who taught me the purpose of sound, the purpose of music. So, like in the Afro Puerto Rican or in the African diasporic idea of music, it's about community coming together to tell stories, but also to release. So whether we're talking about, you know, 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 years ago in Africa, whether we're talking about in the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico, or in the West Indies, where people, or even here in America, where people have traditionally and historically dealt with some very harsh conditions due to slavery, due to colonization, all those types of things, music became not an escape as much as a release. And that's why I asked you about that point, because some people don't understand the difference, you know, but the idea that people would get together on the one day off that they had off and everybody would organize and and play, dance, sing, regardless of whether you're talking about South America, the Caribbean, Africa, or here in America. And so just the idea that music can allow us to release the things that we're holding on to in order to be free enough to continue to survive in a society where sometimes the conditions are very harsh, very unfavorable, downright oppressive, right? Let me ask you this, and this will kind of be one question that's going to lead us into another question, but what do you feel that your role as an artist is, being a young person, being a young person who has a voice, who has a story to tell, but also maybe seeing that other people have a story to tell, and you alluded to that earlier, feeling your desire to also tell other people's stories. But what do you feel your specific role is or responsibility is as an artist? And what do you think the general responsibility of artists or the role of artists is in our world right now?
So I believe that my role as an artist is to inspire people and help them find a way to tell their story. So music, I found my way through music. And my career aspiration is to make music software so producers can have an easier time releasing themselves from whatever they're going through. So I believe that my personal what up? My,
Responsibility, role,
my
yeah.
personal responsibility is to help people help themselves.
Wow.
And that's what I feel my responsibility is. All artists in general, I believe that they're there to also help with that same idea, to find something to help people go along with whatever mood they're in. If they're happy, they make happy music for them. If they're sad, they have sad music for them. If they're sad, they have happy music for them. Music to cheer you up, music to calm you down. That's why we see people. That's why we have music therapists. Those people
Right.
with jobs who make music, but for the sake of helping people with either their emotions, their mental health, or physical health. I feel like
Yeah.
music, the job of a musician or the job of an artist is to express. It doesn't have to just be music, it can be painting,
Sure.
sculpting, just to
Sure.
express.
That's a great answer. And it's really interesting, right? Because the whole notion of music therapy is precisely what I was talking about a second ago. You know, in societies before we had those types of titles, or even before we had a music industry, right? Before that existed, there were people. I grew up with a godmother who was from Ghana, from West Africa, and so I was surrounded by people in her neighborhood in the Bronx, because I'm from New York, and I would sit and hear the older musicians talk about the fact that when they were young, growing up wherever, in whichever African country they had happened to have grown up in, getting called by their music teacher, their mentor, sometimes in the middle of the night, and saying, "Come on, we got to go play for so-and-so. So-and-so is sick. Or so-and-so's mother is dying. We got to go play to give her comfort as she transitions into the next realm." Or somebody's having a hard time emotionally, right? They're depressed or they're confused. We have to play. We have to sing. And so music therapy, or that idea of using music as therapy, is really an ancient thing. It's an ancient idea. And even when we look back into some of the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian societies, the idea that people understood that this note touched this part of the body, and that this note touched this part of the body, and that this note touched part of the body down around here, around the navel. So the idea that ancient people whose stories have been completely erased or the attempt has been made to erase their stories, they had already mastered all of this information and they were using it, right? So let me ask you this along those lines. What are some of the things, aside from music, what are some of the things that inspire you to make music? Maybe it's other artists, maybe it's non-musical artists, maybe it's trees, maybe it's flowers. What are some of the things that inspire you to make music?
Yeah, so overall, I would say the things that inspire me to make music is like, actually, as you said earlier, you enjoy telling stories and hearing stories. The stories of other people inspire me to make music. That's kind of where I get my general ideas for music from. The stories I hear, the stories I have. That's where I get music. That's where I get my music from. Just stories in general. I can also get it from being outside. A lot of my songs I've made outside, just sitting on my porch or sitting in my backyard. Or me and my friend Christian Hankerson, he's a pianist and an organist. Me and him, we go for bike rides. I bring my ukulele and he'll bring his melodica. We call ourselves ukulelica for some reason, and we just don't make music
Wow.
for anyone but ourselves. We just play
pretty
music just to have fun and just come up with ideas. And I feel like just changing your environment frequently, like it helps you it helps you make more music, or helps me make more music, just changing my environment and then finding different stories inside those different environments. They help me make my music.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's pretty interesting. I think you'll find a lot of artists that really enjoy changing location. I know for me, just getting up and going out into nature. The ocean is my thing. So going out next to the ocean somewhere and going to Coney Island or going somewhere where I can sit next to the water and listen to the water, shift my mood, shift my energy. Let me ask you this last question. What advice would you give to your peers within your age group, your contemporaries who may be struggling because, so I knew that I wanted to be a musician when I was in 8th grade. That was it. Case closed for me. But there are many people who struggle to find out what their direction is, what their voice is. They know that they have something inside of them that's pushing them to search, but they're not quite sure. What advice might you give to some of your peers in your age group who are struggling to find that thing that really seems to give them a sense of purpose?
So what I say, that if you have something urging you or pushing you to do something, as far like within yourself, as in like me, I have a drive to make music. I say you let that carry you, and I say you should follow your heart rather than your mind, or use your mind to work with your heart. So I would say along the lines of trying to find what you want to do, look for something you wouldn't be bored doing, something you wouldn't be sick doing. Think to yourself, if you woke up this morning and you're about to do that, it's a Steve Jobs quote. If I woke up in the morning and if I wanted to do what I was about to do, I'm probably completely like saying this wrong or butchering this quote. But if you woke up in the morning and looked at yourself in the mirror and asked yourself, would you like to do what you're about to do, or would you love doing what you're about to do? Would you actually do it? Because if you don't love doing it, then why are you doing it? And I'm not saying don't do the things that you have to do, because of course you got things that you have to do, things that you need to do. People got bills to pay. You need to find a way to correlate with what you to combine what you have to do, what you want to do, to help yourself grow as a
or
person.
use as a stepping stone, right? Do the things you have to do to use as a stepping stone to get you to the place where you can do what you want to do.
Yeah, you got to do what you have to do what you want to do. And if you feel like you want to make music, then you should try to pursue that. And if you have someone else outside of that internal feeling telling you to do something other than what you want to do, then I wouldn't say like ignore that, because also that could be a wise decision to make. But also I would say don't completely give up on what you wanted to do.
Yeah, somebody told me years ago, do more of what you love. And as you do more of what you love, more opportunities will come to do more of what you love.
Yeah.
And I would say, as a person who's lived a couple more years than you have, if someone is telling you to do something else than what your heart is really pushing you to do, you might be around the wrong people.
Yeah.
Check their motives, right? And I will say this as we get ready to sign off, because I want to allow time to hear one more song from you, from your album. I want to congratulate you because I understand that you're on the way to Drexel University in the fall, in whatever way that happens, whether you're studying online or whether you're studying in person. So I want to congratulate you. Just let people know real quickly what you're going to be working on at Drexel.
So at Drexel, I'm going to be doing software engineering. At Drexel, I'm going to be doing software engineering, and there I'm going to be working on making music programs, and also learning how to make software, so I can not only do what I want to do, but also I can make something that can help other people who may want to do something that's similar to what I do.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That's a wonderful step toward fulfilling your goals. So let the people know, where can they get your album and how can they follow you? What are your social media handles? How can they get your music into their collection?
Cool. So if you want to check out my music, you can. There's always a link in my bio on Instagram. My Instagram is NPIAL, and my link inside my bio, it will show you whatever it's due. Whatever music is new, it'll take you there. Like this current live stream, it pops up as soon as this live stream started. The link popped up right there. So that's the best way you can do it. I also send Studio 2622 the actual link to the actual link tree that will show you all the links where you can get it. Because I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, Amazon Music, Google Play Music, everything you can think of, I should be on there.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Iser, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us here at Studio 2622. And what we'd like to do is, I want you to introduce this song as we head out of the interview. What is this next song that the audience is going to hear?
Cool. So the next song that you guys are about to hear is actually a song called Devil in Disguise. Now, this song I made with my friend Farglobe. He went to grade school with me. He's also another artist. He makes hip-hop music, like alt hip-hop. We worked on this, and today I actually released a remix of that song that I did with another Newman Goretti graduate. His name is Gabe Bendati. He goes by Rimtop. He's a guitarist, and he also is touching the alt hip-hop genre, kind of like I am a little bit. So it's like an alt hip hop type song, and I think you guys will really like it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Iser, and you all stick around and let's listen to Devil in Disguise. Thanks so much.
Cool, no problem.
me by surprise. I never thought I needed a friend. I you hate me. I swear you're the devil in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This source is gonna be by said I'm sorry for all the things that I've done. I wanna turn my life around, but not a lot of time. I think about you every night. Can't get you out my head. I'm something I need to stop for something. You know you're good for me. You're too good to me. I'm not bad to you. I'm just bad for you. Every time that you go away, you come back another day. You scream, I fucking hate you. You hate me. I swear you're the devil in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look that's in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This song just caught me by surprise. I never thought I needed a friend. I used to be alone for the cause up on my skin. Why you keep calling my phone? I said there's nowhere to begin. Think I'm tired of relationships, just fun to it. I can't wait till the last minute, call you back on my phone. Give me a minute, gotta look for my phone. I guess I can't come, cause I can't feel my phone. Guess I'm doing just fine, I'm better off being alone. Yeah. You hate me, I swear you're never in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look that's in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This all just caught me by surprise. I love you. You hate me. I can see right through you clear like it's HD. When you touch me, baby, my heart racing. When I touch you, it's not the same thing. So that's what how it be. Give love, yeah. I'm so hard, I don't ever get it. Got the darkest company. Let my thoughts on protect you. I love you. You hate me. I swear you're never in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look that's in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This all just caught me by surprise. I love you. You hate me. I swear you're the devil in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look that's in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This was just caught me by surprise. I love you hate me. I swear you're a devil in disguise. Said I'll do anything just so I can make you mine. You never had faith in me. I know that look that's in your eyes. Did I mess up? Did you mess up? This all just caught me by surprise. All right. So we want to thank Iser again for being with us. And again, you can go to all of the Studio 2622 pages, social media sites, to find Iser's social media handles, as well as his links to purchase his music. And we want to thank him for discussing the importance today of being young, gifted, and telling your story. Wonderful interview. And so, this is the last thing that I want to share with you. If you are a young artist of any discipline, dancer, musician, producer, writer, actor, photographer, painter, any discipline, and you're interested in participating in a youth roundtable that I'll be hosting next month, the last Thursday of June, here on the SoulJourn, please reach out to Studio 2622 at all of their links, or feel free to reach out directly to the SoulJourn page and leave your information, because I'd love to talk to you, because every last Thursday of the month is our focus on youth. And so I'll be hosting a youth roundtable on issues facing young people, as well as young people pursuing their dreams. I want to thank all of you for tuning in with me this week on the SoulJourn. Thank you once again to Studio 2622. If you have any questions, or if you're interested in supporting the SoulJourn, you can go to the Patreon page for Studio 2622, and you can contact the staff, the production crew, which I'm so grateful to. And until next week, please be good to yourselves. Be good to others. I'll talk to you soon.
You hate me, I swear you'll never live this life. Said I'll do anything just so I